Elliot Wolf is at it again. We'll break down the latest signings here on Patscast. Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. The NFL Draft may be over, but undrafted free agency has just begun. And I know it's not the most exciting thing, but you have to recognize that roughly 30% of the NFL is undrafted players. And a lot of these guys, all these guys really, are going to compete for roster spots. And some of them may turn out to be real gems, real franchise pieces. And I really like this list. And something that was really interesting coming out of this draft is so many teams prioritized offense, particularly in the early rounds, that a lot of defensive players slipped out of the 7 rounds. And the Patriots were really able to address the holes that they have on defense because they spent most of the draft addressing offense. All but one player was an offensive player. So Patriots really made sure to address the defensive back positions, the defensive line, and they also brought in some reinforcements on the offensive line. Again, not all these guys will make the team, but some of them probably will. And they brought in some studs. And the common theme here, and you really do see this with undrafted free agents, is these are guys that spent a lot of time in college. These are the John Belushi, spend a lot of time at the frat house, never leave the university, 5-6 years in college playing. I don't know how the redshirt rules work. I don't know how some of these guys play 6 seasons, so please let me know in the comments how that works out. But a lot of these guys are very experienced, and they're like 24, 25 years old, and they have a proven record, and the only reason they weren't drafted is because teams see that and they go, well, he probably doesn't have the upside of a 20, 21-year-old that we can take here in the 6th round. So they slip to undrafted free agency, and the Patriots are able to snag some of these guys because of it. So that really is a common theme here, and it starts with defensive back Del Pettis out of Troy, 6 foot tall, 205 pounds, very versatile back, experience at both safety and the slot corner positions, recorded 61 consecutive starts at Troy, had 315 tackles, 7.5 tackles for a loss, and 14 pass breakups throughout his college career. Also a guy who can contribute on special teams. And that is a common theme here as well. A lot of guys who can contribute on special teams. And now that the NFL has embraced like this old XFL rule of less running, lining up the teams 5 players apart, really, you don't know how that's going to play out at the NFL level. And it's interesting because you basically just have a Red Rover wall, and if you break through it, you can run for a touchdown. So you're going to see a lot more size, a lot of players that can play on special teams that otherwise wouldn't, and a lot of running backs that are going to be part of it as well, because if they can break 1 or 2 tackles, they're off and running. And this defensive back, Del Pettis, is a guy who probably can contribute on special teams to be part of that Red Rover wall. I pronounced it correctly that time. Zuri Henry, tackle, 6'6", 293 pounds out of UTEP. Another experienced guy, 52 games played at UTEP. Swing tackle, can play both the left and right tackle positions. Massive guy, physical presence, crucial for protecting the quarterback, going to provide some depth and competition for roster spots, which is important, especially at the tackle position. We all think Michael Wenu is going to be the right tackle of the future, even though he was a right guard before. Did a great job there the latter half of the season when Belichick finally moved him over to the right tackle spot. We don't know. Is it going to be Okorafor at left tackle in week 1? Is Caden Wallace going to get that left tackle job? Or are you going to start him at guard and then shift him over to the left side because he hasn't played there before? You're going to want some competition there, and Zuri Henry, massive left or right tackle, can really add some depth there and maybe compete for a spot on the roster. Charles Turner, a center, 6'4", 300 pounds, lots of experience the last 2 seasons at LSU. We know the center position's a big question mark after David Andrews. Yeah, you got the other Andrews guy, but we don't know how much longer Andrews is going to be on the team. There were rumors he was going to retire after this past season. This could be his final year in New England, his final season in the NFL. You're going to want to start thinking about the center spot. Charles Turner could be his successor there, starting center at LSU his final 2 collegiate seasons. Impressive pass protection skills, allowed just 1 sack over 763 snaps in 2023. Really did a good job at protecting Jaden Daniels there. Dependable anchor on the offensive line. Expected to compete for a roster spot, like all of these guys are. And then I mentioned special teams and getting running backs, adding some depth to the running back room. Deshaun Fenwick, running back out of Oregon State. That's a good football name, by the way. Deshaun Fenwick. It sounds like a good football running back. A lot of these guys have good football names. Deshaun Fenwick, I'm already buying in. 6'2", 222 pounds, Oregon State. Physical running back with a blend of size and speed. There aren't a lot of running backs that are 6'2", 222. Effective both in rushing, can catch passes, 515 rushing yards this past season in 9 receptions. Capable of contributing in short yardage situations, including the red zone. Had 5 rushing touchdowns at Oregon State. And adds a lot of depth, as I mentioned, to that running back room. And I was hoping the Patriots would make a run at Zeke. It just didn't work out. He went back to Dallas. We know they got Antonio Gibson, a real third down pass catching back who can block pretty well. And then we all know what Ramondre Stevenson can do. But after that, who knows? You need to add some depth to that running back room, and this guy can contribute on special teams as well. Deshaun Fenwick, it's going to be nice to have a big running back there who can return kicks. I don't know. We'll see what happens with him. Now there's Jacob Warren. I'm really excited about this guy. He's a tight end out of Tennessee. Massive tight end, 6'6", 253 pounds. Another one of these guys, John Belushi, in the frat house for years to come. 54 games over 6 collegiate seasons. Contributed to the passing game with 16 receptions for 191 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2023. But he's also a really good blocking tight end as well. Another guy who played with Joe Milton, who is the backup of the future in all likelihood to Drake May. Very similar traits to Drake May. Coming out of Tennessee as well. He can throw an orange 100 yards, which we all know is a very important statistic. Joe Milton, the strongest arm in the draft, the largest quarterback in the draft. That's about all he can do, but he's a guy, like I said, similar traits to Drake May, a guy you can develop. And if Drake May doesn't work out, maybe Joe Milton does. He now has his tight end on the roster, competing for a spot. Big body tight end. We know Austin Hooper is probably only going to be there for a season. Perhaps he can earn that second position behind Hunter Henry after a year in New England. Sticking to defense now. Caleb Ford-Dement, 5'11", 190 pounds, out of Texas State, experienced cornerback with a history at multiple collegiate programs, recorded 3 interceptions, 7 passes defended, and 32 tackles in 2023. Played all 13 games this past season for Texas State. Very durable, very reliable, expected to compete for a role in the secondary, brings a diverse skill set and experience from various programs, adding value to the roster. They also added another cornerback out of Alabama State. This guy's pretty big, 6'3", 209 pounds. Mikey Victor is his name. Used to play at UNLV before transferring to Alabama State. Contributed with 2 interceptions, 13 passes defended, and 31 total tackles in his collegiate career. So doesn't have as big of a resume, but with his size, maybe a lot of upside, real developmental corner there. We'll see if he makes the team. And then defense the rest of the way. Jontre Hunter, a linebacker, 6'1", 236 pounds out of Georgia State. Experience both at inside and outside linebacker. 2023 had 96 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. Accumulated 6 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, and 3 interceptions throughout his college career. So he's a guy who can go after the quarterback. He's a guy that can force fumbles. Has a real reputation for a relentless work ethic. Real character guy and an ability to create turnovers. Jeff Bush, another linebacker, 6'2", 242 pounds out of Texas. Played 5 seasons at Texas, 58 games played. And in 2023 recorded 17 tackles, 3 for a loss, 2 sacks, and an interception. But provides a little more depth in the linebacker room as well. Another character guy with a good work ethic. We'll see how it plays out for him. And rounding it out, we have John Morgan, a defensive lineman out of Arkansas, 6'2", 270 pounds. Transitioned to Arkansas after 5 seasons at Pittsburgh. Got a little sick of the frat houses at Pittsburgh, so went to Arkansas in the hills there on the northwest part of the state where it's a little more fun. Recorded 15 tackles, 4 for a loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble at Arkansas. But throughout his entire career, which was, I guess, 12 seasons long, 89 tackles, 27 for a loss, 16 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles throughout his career. More depth to the defensive line, expected to contribute to the rotation and provide pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So Patriots really addressing the defense, particularly the defensive back roles with undrafted free agents. That's something they needed to do. they got a lot of cap space to burn still, too. So if you're not going to make one of these trades for a big-name wide receiver, a Brandon Ayuk, a Deebo Samuel, a T. Higgins, and spend money there, you got to spend some money somewhere. So I'd love to see them go after a guy like Stephon Gilmore, who had great success in New England before, still a very reliable corner. You line him up opposite of Christian Gonzalez. Would love to see him on the team, and you can spend a little bit of money on him, sign him to a 1 to 2 year deal. That's what I hope the Patriots do, because they still got some cash to burn, but they did burn some cash. Patriots burned some cash today, agreeing to a 4-year extension with Patriots defensive tackle Christian Barmore. 4 years, $84 million, has a maximum value of up to $92 million, with about $42 million of that guaranteed. And this really has been a common theme for Elliott Wolf this offseason, is making sure those foundational pieces, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, are coming back, and you have those guys to rely on for years to come. We all know what Barmore has done. He did have some injuries in 2022, but 2023 was by far his best season. 8.5 sacks, 49 pressures, career high 40 run stops, probably the best defensive player on the team, best player on the team, let's be honest, because the offense didn't do a damn thing, and was snubbed in the Pro Bowl, right? Because the Patriots had this reputation of being such an awful team this past season that people didn't realize they had a good defense, and that started with Christian Barmore. So good to see Elliott Wolf bringing Barmore back. You knew that was a big priority right after the draft. Got to it. Going to get paid. This is the second, or I think the biggest non-quarterback contract given to a New England Patriots player ever. Tom Brady, I think, only made more money. 4 years, 84 up to $92 million. And it's a good thing, because as you're building this offense, as you're setting them up for success going forward, you don't want to lose a lot of defensive players, because as is, the Patriots defense is very good. This could be a top 5 defense in the NFL this year. You still got Gerard Mayo there. Now he's the head coach. You got DeMarcus Covington. And yeah, maybe you lost Bill Belichick, but from everything I heard, Bill Belichick spent most of this past season just trying to clean up issues on the offense, whereas Gerard Mayo, DeMarcus Covington really spent their time on the defense, and they kept it rolling. And we all know what DeMarcus Covington did with Christian Barmore this past season. Good to see him back on the team. Really hope they can add another piece like a Stephon Gilmore. That would really round out this defense. And the cool thing is, if the Patriots offense is just slightly competent, like middle of the pack in the NFL, and they have a top 5 defense, that's a playoff team. Like, that quickly, the Patriots can be a playoff team. If they are an okay offense and they have one of the best defenses in the NFL, they're a playoff team, easily. So this rebuild doesn't really have to be that much of a rebuild, even if Drake May isn't out there till year 2, till year 3. You can still make the playoffs with a guy like Jacoby Brissett if he doesn't turn the ball over, if he makes the right decisions, if this receiving core, if some of these guys work out, like Jalen Polk, like Javon Baker. One of these guys, Javon Baker, turns into a true number one, a true boundary X, and then the defense keeps rolling. You got a playoff team. You got a wild card team. And then you got something to build on. Then year 2, year 3 under Drake May, he develops into the type of quarterback we think he can be. Then you got a contender. It's that easy. It's that quick of a turnover between a 4-13 team, a playoff team, and a contender. You need to get the offense up to speed, get them competent, not turning the ball over, and then keep the defense rolling. Don't lose guys next year. Starts with Christian Barmore. I'd love to see them re-sign Matt Judon to maybe a 2-year extension. I think he's in a contract year this season. Bring back Judon. You got Christian Barmore back. You got Christian Gonzalez there, who looks like a real stud corner. You got all these defensive backs that you brought in through undrafted free agency. You're off and running. We all know the Patriots defense is good. We just need the offense to play okay. And then this is a playoff team. And then you build on that, and you have a contender in a couple of seasons. It's that easy. Yeah, easier said than done. I know. But we'll see how it plays out. Exciting times to be a New England Patriots fan after a very depressing season. You're going to want to subscribe to Pat's Cast if you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on some of these undrafted free agent signings, your thoughts on the defense, the offense, this Christian Barmore extension. Want to hear from you. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you throughout the week.